والناشط السيد فيمي فان كايد. سيد فيمي، أهلا وسهلا بك عبر شاشة تلفزيون فلسطين.
Thank you very much.
يعني بداية سيد فيمي، نحن الآن اقتربنا من العام وما زال العدوان الإسرائيلي مستمر على الشعب الفلسطيني، وسقوط بشكل يومي العديد من الشهداء من الأطفال والنساء، وأيضا تدبير شامل للبنى التحتية للشعب الفلسطيني. وأيضا أنت تعلم أن العدوان على الشعب الفلسطيني لم يبدأ منذ 7 من أكتوبر، إنما منذ 76 عام والشعب الفلسطيني يتعرض لعدوان إسرائيلي شامل.
Well, the situation in Gaza is a very tragic one. It's a situation that the whole world views with much concern and deep anger. It's not just Gaza. It is the entire Palestine, the whole of Palestine. What is going on there and what the people of that region and the Palestinian people generally have been subjected to is totally and completely unacceptable. And it's not just 11 months of genocide. It's well over 75 years of genocide, pillaging, occupation, terror, and evil visited upon them by the Zionist state of Israel. What has happened in the last 11 months, though, is that it has been brought to bear before the entire world. People have finally seen what the Zionist state stands for and what they're capable of doing. As thousands of Palestinian children are slaughtered, women are butchered, and men are killed by all kinds of state-of-the-art weapons. They are butchered with no response, no vigorous response from the so-called civilized world. This is barbarity of the highest order. It is evil, it is wickedness. And I'm glad about one thing, and that is this, that the world has finally come alive to the insensitivity and bestiality of this perverse Zionist state, which claims to be a nation of Jews, but is in fact a nation of plunderers, pillagers, pedophiles, and vicious megalomaniacs, led by a man that I consider to be absolutely evil, Bibi Netanyahu, who has no intention whatsoever, I assure you, of stopping the carnage and the genocide. Rather, he wants to perpetuate it. He wants to continue the occupation. He wants to continue to kill people. He wants to have a greater Israel. He and his Minister of National Security, his Minister for Finance, all of them, we know them. The whole world knows these names, notorious names, which I will now compare to men like Adolf Hitler in the past. That is what has happened. But the good news is that because of the resilience of the Palestinian people, not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, resilient and strong, stood proudly against this tyranny over 75 years and over 11 months of barbarity. Because of that resilience and strength, because they have honor and dignity, they refuse to bow. And they have said, no way. We shall stand as the Palestinian people and we shall not be suppressed. We shall not be wiped off the face of the earth. And I'm very proud of that. So that is how I feel about it. And I speak for millions, not just in Nigeria, but all over Africa.
لكن سيد فيما، عفوا على المقاطعة، هذه الإبادة الجماعية التي تمارسها دولة الاحتلال ضد الشعب الفلسطيني في ظل صمت دولي، وربما الداعم الأكبر لهذه الإبادة الجماعية هي الإدارة الأمريكية الحالية.
Well, let me put it to you like this. The American government has been complicit in this genocide. Not only that, the British government has been complicit, as have the French and a number of others. The governments, yes, but the people on the ground, the majority of people on the ground, I can assure you, particularly in some of these countries, a large percentage of people in America, you see what's happening in their universities now. You see all the marches all over America. 5 years ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, nobody would have imagined that virtually every Western capital in the world, that you have demonstrations by younger people, older people, and even some Jews who are concerned about what the Zionist state is doing. And so the West is coming alive. America is coming alive to the sensitivities of what's going on there. And they're becoming more and more alive to their own responsibilities to the Committee of Nations. A situation whereby the International Court of Justice has ruled that genocide is going on in Gaza. that the ICJ, that is the International Criminal Court, has said they're going to indict Netanyahu and some of his ministers, a situation whereby you have even the Vice President of America, who is running for the president, Kamala Harris. I'm not her greatest fan, but one of the things she said, which really stung me and impressed me, was the fact that she told Netanyahu to his face and said it on national television that the barbarity has to stop in Gaza. So America is coming alive, but they have been complicit, and this has to stop.
نعم، الجريمة مستمرة بالرغم من كافة القرارات الأممية، مجلس الأمن والجمعية العامة والجنية الدولية والعدل الدولية، كافة القرارات الدولية التي اتخذت بضرورة وقف العدوان على الشعب الفلسطيني، ولكن إسرائيل غير آبهة، ترفض هذه القرارات بعرض الحائط، وهي مستمرة في عدوانها على الشعب الفلسطيني بالرغم من الموقف الدولي والمؤسسات الدولية التي تنادي بضرورة وقف العدوان على الشعب الفلسطيني. هل إسرائيل فوق القانون؟
Let me put it to you, do you really expect Israel to listen? Do you expect a barbaric state of people that have no regard for human life and that kill children and that relish in shedding human blood and that seek to occupy and destroy and wipe out a whole nation of people, take their land, wipe them out? You killed almost 1 million during the Nakba. Over the last 75 years, you've killed hundreds of thousands more. And in the last 11 months, you've slaughtered so many. Do you believe people like that will ever listen to anybody? Don't think they will. This is going to be a battle to the end. It is a long-term war, a war of attrition, a war of liberation, and it must be fought on all fronts and in many, many ways. On the intellectual plane, the emotional plane, the spiritual plane, the physical plane. We must all collectively fight this war. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. The Palestinians are no longer alone. Christians all over the world, Muslims all over the world, even some Jews all over the world, the Torah Jews, for example, they're opposed to this aggression, and even people that have no religion at all. Listen, there are a number of great movements on this planet over the years, and I can mention a few, where the person that's the tyrant never gives up easily. Don't expect Israel to give up without a fight, but they will lose at the end of the day. The fight against slavery was the first one, where our people in Africa were taken not just to the Middle East, but to the West as slaves, sold as slaves. The fight took centuries. We fought it. The white world also joined us eventually. The Arab world joined us, and slavery was abolished, and we won it. But millions were killed in the process. The next great move, the next great fight, was against colonialism. Again, hundreds of thousands died. 10 million people were killed in Congo alone by the King of Belgium. We fought it in Africa. We fought colonialism and throughout the world. Eventually, the world was liberated from the colonial powers of the West. The third great move was the fight against Nazism. Hitler fought back when the world said no. 50 million people died in that Second World War fighting Nazism. Eventually, Germany crumbled and was divided and was wiped off the face of the earth, and we prevailed. The next one was communism, led by Jews, incidentally, like Trotsky, where millions of Christians were killed in the Soviet Union at the time, slaughtered, and the fight went on and on and on. They didn't give up easily, but eventually, after millions and millions died, we prevailed, and communism was kicked out, and the world was rid of communism. Then, of course, the final one, imperialism, which we're still fighting now. But the one that is current today, you mentioned all these, what is current today is Gaza, and is the Palestinian struggle. The whole world, the whole civilized world, is fighting against what the Jews are doing and what the Zionists are doing in Palestine. And that's the good news about
نعم
this.
سيد فيمي، ولكن نحن سيد فيمي نحن الشعب الفلسطيني شعب أعزل، لا نمتلك السلاح ولا نمتلك الطائرات أو الصواريخ أو الدبابات. نحن نتعرض لعدوان من البر ومن البحر ومن الجو، من دولة تدعي الديمقراطية وتدعي حقوق الإنسان. عندما تسقط القذائف على رؤوس المواطنين الآمنين النازحين الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم، والآن هم يتعرضون لشكل يومي لإبادة جماعية، عندما تقصف اللاجئ الفلسطينية والنازح الفلسطيني في الخيام وفي ظل صمت دولي. أنت كمحامي، عندما أيضا كونك ناشط سياسي وأيضا محامي، عندما ترفض إسرائيل الالتزام بالقرارات الدولية، ما هو المطلوب من المجتمع الدولي؟
Well, look, there are two ways of looking at this. I can assure you, and I can tell you right now, that if, for example, my people in Nigeria were subjected to the sort of occupation and the sort of tyranny and barbarity that the Palestinians are being subjected to by Israel today, we would have had an unending war. We would have had an unending war. Very few people would have been talking about international resolutions. We would have fought them into the sea and to the end, because it's human nature to do that. And that's one way of resolving this issue, through armed conflict. And you say, well, the other side has all the arms and all the weapons. Yes, but God is still alive. God still exists. I'm a Christian, and I know that God exists. And there are many Muslims that know that God exists. So they may have all the arms in the world. It's only a question of time. It's just a question of time. So there's that aspect of it. People say, oh, you talk about armed struggle. It's just one option when all other options fail. I believe in a peaceful resolution of the crisis, for example. I believe that there should be a two-state solution. As a lawyer, that's a civilized and right way to go. Let the Palestinian people have their own country, sovereign state, and let Israel have its own. But the government of Israel, the people of Israel, 80% of them have rejected that. So what's left? The only thing left, in my view, is to have a situation where the country comes together, both Palestine and Israel come together as one nation, and it is a free country where Palestinians have equal rights and where Israel is now pushed aside and the Jews are a minority within that country. And to get that, you have to fight for it. Now, I'm not advocating armed struggle. I'm just saying it's an option. And when people say, oh, but Hamas is such an evil organization, fine if that is your view. But listen, if your people were being subjected to what the Palestinians were being subjected to, would you be a member of Hamas or not? Would you be a member of Hamas? That's a question that needs to be put to most of our Western brothers. Would you, during the time of the apartheid struggle in South Africa, not have been a member of the ANC? Was ANC not regarded as a terrorist organization at the time? Was Nat Turner, the great slave, who fought against slavery in the 18th century in America and got up and started killing white people because he said black people have the right to exist as human beings, was he not regarded as a terrorist? He fought against tyranny and he paid the price for it, but he made the point and he began the struggle. During the time of slavery in America again, during the John Brown, a great white warrior, got up and said, I will fight slavery. He took his sons and his men and he went to liberate black slaves. They fought against tyranny. Eventually they won. Point I'm making is this: it doesn't matter what course you take. It doesn't matter what you think. The reality is the only thing that matters is that at the end of the day, evil cannot prevail over good. Light cannot be overshadowed by darkness. Surely light will prevail. And eventually Palestine will be free because it's a cause for the whole of the world, not just a cause for the Palestinian people alone. We're all involved now.
الآن يعني نتحدث عن الدور الإفريقي في دعم القضية الفلسطينية وتحديدا دولة نيجيريا. ما هو الدور الذي تقومون فيه بدعم القضية الفلسطينية خاصة على الصعيد الدولي في المحافل الدولية؟ ونحن نعلم أن نيجيريا من أول الدول التي اعترفت بالدولة الفلسطينية عام 88 وأيدت أيضا التصويت في الجمعية العامة بأن تحصل فلسطين على عضو في الجمعية العامة. ولكن هل هذا الدور كافي ما تقوم به الدول الأفريقية، مع أن الاعتقاد السائد عند الجميع بأن الدول الأفريقية مغيبة نوعا ما عن المشهد السياسي الدولي؟
Well, first of all, well, you know, as a country, the country that I come from, Nigeria, has been very consistent in our position as a nation. That is that we believe in a peaceful resolution to the crisis. We believe in a two-state solution, and we have supported all the resolutions in the United Nations that have been reasonable and rational, and have, you know, recognized the right of Israel, the right of or the Palestinians to have a seat at the UN, and all the other international resolutions that were passed there. Nigeria has been very consistent in its support for the Palestinian people in a measured and a responsible fashion. Now, that is the government of Nigeria. The overwhelming majority of the people in Nigeria, I can assure you, both Christian and Muslim, are horrified, mortified, shocked, are completely amazed and disgusted by the carnage in Gaza, and are disgusted by what has been going on over the last 75 years in Palestine and what the Jews have been doing there. And the last 11 months has galvanized this when we see what's happening. So the people of this country, the people of Nigeria, I assure you, the overwhelming majority are solidly behind the people that are saying morning, day, and night, free, free Palestine. They're going a step further. They're also saying from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. That doesn't mean we should wipe out Israel. What it means is that Palestinian people should have equal rights across the board as any Jew. So we are with you. And as each day passes, the support that the Palestinian people are enjoying in this country gets more and more. Let me tell you this. Had it not been for the fact that many of us as leaders in this country are reasonable and rational and restrained, we would have had protests in the streets every day against Israel, against the Jews. We would have had all kinds of, things would have happened here against the Jews, against the Zionist state, no matter what their propaganda machine is. I mean, their ambassador is always on television in Nigeria talking absolute rubbish and telling lies, just as they do on the international plane through the international television networks. But the propaganda is bad, like Trump has said. Their propaganda is no longer working. Their PR machine has fallen apart. We here in this part of the world understand what it is to be subjected to tyranny, and we know how to fight it. We will continue to fight it. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our brothers in South Africa. The South African government have taken the lead in this matter. They speak for Africa, we speak for Africa, and we're against these people.
ونحن نعلم أيضا الموقف النيجيري الثابت تجاه القضية الفلسطينية كما أطلق عليها الشهيد الرئيس الراحل ياسر عرفات عندما قال أفريقيا الحنونة، وأيضا عندما قام الرئيس النيجيري بزيارة تاريخية لفلسطين عام 2013 والتقى السيد الرئيس محمود عباس، وهذا دليل على متانة العلاقة الفلسطينية النيجيرية. ولكن سيد فيمي، ما هو المطلوب من الحكومات في أفريقيا من أجل الضغط وممارسة العلاقات الدولية خاصة على الإدارة الأمريكية من أجل وقف دعمها لدولة الاحتلال المستمر ضد الشعب الفلسطيني؟ وأنت تعلم أن الدعم الأمريكي بشقي: السياسي عندما ترفض الإدارة الأمريكية طلب فلسطين بالعضوية، وأيضا الشق الميداني عندما توفر لها الغطاء العسكري في الاعتداء على الشعب الفلسطيني.
Well, I agree with you there. I think some of the African governments have compromised in a very, very disturbing manner. And when I say compromise, I mean sitting on the fence, in my view, in the face of evil, is actually compromise with evil. And that is something that is quite unacceptable. It's a question of leadership. It's a question of style. If you look at what's happening, by way of example, in Western Europe, you have nations like Ireland, Belgium, I believe, to a certain degree, France, certainly Spain, and a number of others who have voiced their opposition to what Israel is doing in Gaza. It is only America and the United Kingdom, essentially, maybe one or two others, that have said Israel can do anything they like and kill as many people as they like, and they will stand by them. But in Africa, in the African context, certainly a lot more can be done. And I believe strongly that as time goes by, we will have leaders that will eventually emerge in this part of the world that are far more courageous. And I'm not saying this to disparage anybody. I'm just saying that we need far more courageous leaders in Africa. The African people are ready. It's just a question of whether the leaders are ready. If you want to take up this fight, you'll also have to take on those that back Israel. Well, it's a new world today. Russia is on the scene. China is on the scene. And thankfully, they are playing a very major role to ensure that justice is brought to the people of the Middle East. And I'm very glad about that. So we have an option now. And if you look at what's happening in Africa itself, you know there are divisions and over Russia, over China, and the other side with America. But in this particular struggle, in the context of Gaza, the majority of people are solidly with the Palestinians. We need strong leaders, leaders with vision, leaders with courage that will come up and say, whatever it takes, we have to do the right thing. I will mention one country in Africa, which is most unlike me, for strong criticism here, and that is the government of Kenya. I think that it's been a disaster for Ruto to do the sort of things he's been doing, openly supporting a barbaric state like Israel. And of course, his own people have revolted against him. He was almost kicked out the other day of power. And I hope the sooner he's kicked out, the better, because he's nothing but an agent of the Americans. And he's sitting there. He has compromised. He has betrayed the history of that country, great men like Jomo Kenyatta and so many other leaders in Kenya. To have a man like Ruto supporting Zionism in this day and age is a disgrace. But outside of Ruto, we also have people like Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa who are doing so well. We have people like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu here in Nigeria, who is doing his own thing covertly, I can assure you, working extremely hard to ensure that justice is brought to Palestine. And there are so many, many other African leaders that are doing a great job over this issue. We will not relent. It's just a question of time, and we will play our role at the appropriate time and take the necessary risks that need to be taken to bring justice to that part of the world.
نأمل ذلك. سيد فيمي، أيضا في المحافل الدولية إسرائيل الآن في
I'm
كفة
sorry, I can't hear
والعالم
you.
أصبح في كفة. العالم ينظر لإسرائيل أنها دولة مجرمة، دولة قاتلة للأطفال، دولة ترتكب الإبادة الجماعية، وهذا الذي حرك مشاعر الملايين حول العالم من أجل نصرة الشعب الفلسطيني، من أجل وقف حمام الدم الذي تعرض له الشعب الفلسطيني. كيف تنظرون في نيجيريا إلى هذا الحراك الدولي، خاصة بين الشعوب الغربية التي خرجت عن بكرة أبيها رفضا للعدوان الإسرائيلي على الشعب الفلسطيني؟ هل يمكن البناء على هذا الحراك سيد فيمي؟
There's there's no doubt about it because you know if you know how America works and how the West works, um, the governments literally are terrified of being voted out of power, and it has become a major issue now. If you go to the heart of it, if you don't go to America now, it has become a major issue. The Palestinian question has become a major issue. Like I said, a couple of years ago, a year ago, you would not have all these young people in the streets with Palestinian flags, you know, saying from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. These are you know, white Christian people from all over America, Black Americans all over America. They're saying Christian and Muslim saying the same thing. There's been a change, a seismic change throughout the Western world. The same is happening in the UK. The same is happening all over Europe. People that ordinarily would not get themselves involved in politics, they're rising up and saying, this is the moment. Like the fight against slavery, the fight against communism, the fight against Nazism. Today, it's the fight against Zionism and what the people of Palestine are being subjected to. So there is a change. And, you know, I think sometimes because you are there and you're the victims of this tyranny, you may not fully appreciate that people, you know, have risen up to fight for you all over the world, to speak for you. You know, and they're doing that morning, day and night. A situation whereby, for example, in the West Bank, you have Jewish settlers, you know, extremists that are literally going against international law, taking the land of the Palestinians, illegal structures against UN resolutions, and building with the support of their government. We have taken notice of this. We know what's going on there, and it's unacceptable. And believe me, that awareness is what will ensure that eventually there'll be victory. It may not be now, it may not be tomorrow, but eventually, believe me, the Zionist state will be brought to its knees. They will be forced to compromise with the rest of the world and to come to reason and elect decent leaders that are prepared to bring peace to that region and not tyranny and occupation. That is just a question of time.
سيد فيمي، العديد من الدول الغربية اتخذت قرار بمنع دخول غلاة المستوطنين المتطرفين الذين يعتدون على الشعب الفلسطيني من دخول أراضيها، وأنت تعلم أن الضفة الغربية مستباحة من قبل عصابات المستوطنين الذين يطلقون النار بشكل يومي على المواطنين الفلسطينيين الذين يذهبون حتى إلى قطف ثمار محاصيلهم الزراعية. هل يمكن أن نشاهد نفس الخطوة في الدول الأفريقية من أجل معاقبة هؤلاء المستوطنين ومنع دخولهم، وأيضا مقاطعة البضائع التي تنتج في المستوطنات التي أقيمت على الأراضي الفلسطينية بقوة السلاح؟
Apart from the Kenyan government and perhaps one or two others that has not been brought to my attention, I can assure you that the overwhelming majority of African governments, and I really say this from the bottom of my heart, are solidly against this kind of evil activity because we understand it. It's been done to us over the years, and it was not easy for us to be liberated. Nelson Mandela was regarded as a terrorist at one point, but South Africa eventually was liberated after many, many years of apartheid. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. Angola was free. Mozambique was free. Nigeria was free. It takes time. Yes, we do identify with this. We do recognize what the Jews are doing. We do regard it as being unacceptable, and we are with your people. Of course, the reality of it is that for many, many years, just like the rest of the world, we were subjected to propaganda of the worst form. Many of us believe strongly in the state of Israel, particularly the Christians. We loved the state of Israel. I was one of those that believed in Israel for many, many years, because throughout my Western education, I was told that Israel could do no wrong. And as a Christian, I believe that this was the right thing to do. But then it occurred to me that the Israel of the Bible, that the Bible spoke about, that God loved, and that God and that also loved God, is certainly not the Israel of today. Today, the Israel that we have are basically, white European settlers who came to your part of the world in 1948. Some came even later, and they were foisted on you. These are not even original Semites. These are not people that come from there. These are essentially European settlers, and they have established a colonial state in your parts of the world, and they have occupied the land, and they're killing the people, the indigenous people of the land. This is something that we can identify with in Africa because we know what it's like to suffer such things. So we are with you. We understand. It's not just passion. It's not just talking. We are with you in every way. And I assure you, this fight is a fight against injustice. And I say it again, it is only a question of time. The price that is being paid now in blood, they kill everybody. They've killed not just Palestinian leaders, they've killed not just Hanania, they've killed not just Palestinian leaders, both from Fatah, both from Hamas, even those that are non-aligned at all. They've killed Palestinian intellectuals, women and children. They've killed everybody. They're also killing leaders of other countries in the Middle East. It's a rogue state. They're out of control. They're lunatics. They've gone crazy. And the reality of it is that when you're dealing with a crazy man, you fight him with everything you've got. And when the time comes, believe me, he shall fall. Israel shall fall at the end of it all. It's just a question of time. And I want to encourage the people of Palestine to continue the struggle. You've paid a price. That price you paid is not going for nothing. All those children that were butchered and killed, they didn't die for nothing. The women that were killed, they didn't die for nothing. And your men did not die for nothing. Eventually, liberty will come, just as it's come in other parts of the world in history. Liberty will come.
نعم سيد فيمي، أيضا إسرائيل لا تعتدي فقط على الشعب الفلسطيني، إنما تعتدي أيضا على المؤسسات الدولية التي تقدم الخدمات للشعب الفلسطيني. عندما نتحدث عن الأونروا، هذه المنظمة الدولية التي تقدم الخدمات للاجئين الفلسطينيين، وتحاول إسرائيل وصفها بصفات إرهابية في تحدي للعالم. وأنت تعلم أن الأونروا مؤسسة دولية وتقدم خدمات للاجئين الفلسطينيين، وهذا مؤشر آخر أن إسرائيل لا تحترم فقط القوانين الدولية، إنما تعتدي على المؤسسات الدولية أيضا.
Israel has not only attacked UNRWA without any evidence, I might add, and there was an investigation. No evidence has been tendered. They attack anybody as being anti-Semite. They attack anybody as being anti-Jewish simply because they voice out against their atrocities. They've attacked Candace Owen, the great American young lady, that black lady, very, very beautiful, brilliant black lady. They go against everybody. They go against people like Andrew Tate. They go against people like Tucker Carlson. They go against everybody that speaks against their tyranny. That is the nature of Israel. Now, when it comes to international institutions, because the UN is not bowing to them, they've gone against the United Nations. They've gone against the International Criminal Court, even going as far as to say they will deal with members of the court
أيضا عفوا سيد فيمي، عفوا على المقاطعة، ليس فقط الاعتداء على المنظمات الدولية، أيضا هي اعتدت بشكل شخصي عندما على بن سودة، عندما حاولت تهديدها، عندما طرحت القضية الفلسطينية، وأيضا كريم خان عندما صرح بأنه يتعرض للتجسس.
Key members of the International Criminal Court are being personally threatened for indicting them. I say it again. Nobody is safe from Israel. Nobody is safe from them. And the world is beginning to recognize that. So I don't think people should be unduly worried about the longevity of the struggle. I don't think that people should give up with despair. A lot of progress has been made. And, it's just a question of time. They have gone way over and above what they should be doing, even for them, as barbaric as they are. What they're doing today is more barbaric than barbarism itself. And the world recognizes that. It's just a question of time before they fall. And fall they will, unless they become reasonable, rational, law-abiding members of the international community. You cannot have one set of rules for everybody else and another set of rules for the state of Israel. Israel cannot be above international law. Israel must be an international player and must be bound by the rules of international law. If you don't have that, if you allow them to do what they think, what they've been doing, and if you subscribe to the view that they are God's chosen race, God's chosen people, if you read the Talmud and see what they say about Christians and what they say about Muslims and non-Jews, and if you subscribe to that philosophy of having a master race of Jews, then you know the world is not an equal world, and therefore we must all of us may as well just die and go to hell. The reality of this, nobody will accept that in this day and age. It went on for some time. For 75 years, we believed that trash, that rubbish. We don't believe it anymore. We are all equal before God, Christian, Muslim, or Jew, and we must all be bound by the rules of God and also the rules of international law. Other than that, nothing, nobody can be safe and nothing can be taken for granted. And people will do anything to survive.
سيد فيمي، ليس العدوان فقط هو من خلال الطائرات والسلاح وإبادة الشعب الفلسطيني، أيضا هنالك اعتداء من نوع آخر وهو قرصنة الأموال الفلسطينية والحصار المالي الذي تفرضه دولة الاحتلال على الدولة الفلسطينية. وأنت تعلم قرصنة الأموال بأن هذه عائدات الضرائب، وهي حق للشعب الفلسطيني، وتأخذ إسرائيل مقابل جبايتها من ذلك. وأنت تعلم أن انعكاس هذه القرصنة ينعكس على البنى التحتية وعلى تقديم الخدمات، سواء في قطاع التعليم، سواء في قطاع الصحة، سواء في الحالات الاجتماعية ولأسر الشهداء والأسرى وكافة المرافق الحياتية. هذا القرصنة وهذا الاعتداء على الأموال الفلسطينية ألا يمكن له أن يستفز العالم الحر؟
The world handles the issue in the way that I've been telling you, to create awareness, to push for change, to push for a just settlement of this crisis, to fight for the rights of the Palestinian people, and to support them in their struggle. And the world has a duty to do that. And I'm telling you, and I'll say it again, the world has begun to do that. Over the last 1 year or so, things are very, very different now. Israel, it's on its back feet. Israel is always trying to defend itself. Yes, they do. Of course, if people kill your children and kill your people, of course, they'll pillage your treasury as well. They'll take everything from you, your land, your dignity, your everything. They're taking everything from you. And so I'm not surprised by what you've just said. Listen, something else that the world may not even know, and I'm sure you know this, which they also do, which I consider to be utterly barbaric, is the fact that they also take human parts. They take human parts from dead bodies of the Palestinians that they kill, and they harvest human organs. They take their parts and sell them. That is how barbaric this country, this Zionist state is. They do all these things, and it's barbaric. Now, the response to that is this. How do you respond to evil? How do you respond to an evil man? I leave that to your imagination. I'm not one of those that will get on international television.
هل شاهدت التقارير التي تتحدثت عن ما يتعرض له الأسرى الفلسطينيين داخل المعتقلات الإسرائيلية؟ عندما نتحدث في القرن 21 والآن تحدث عمليات اغتصاب إلى الأسرى الفلسطينيين.
I was about to come to that, a situation whereby, and listen to this carefully, because some people that may watch this program outside your country may not know this, a situation whereby Israeli soldiers rape Palestinian prisoners, men and women, boys and girls, rape them systematically. And this is caught on camera. And simply because the International Criminal Court is now has the heat on them and is watching them, they quickly had to now say, oh, they're going to investigate and arrest those soldiers responsible. They've been doing it for years, but it was caught on camera. They had to do something. They now arrested these soldiers. And what was the response? Riots and protests all over Israel, raiding the facility in which these people were kept. Not saying what they did was heinous, which is what would happen in any other country, but rather saying they should be freed because as far as they're concerned, it's perfectly legitimate for them to rape, and sexually abuse prisoners, whether girls, boys, men, or women, because they are non-Jews. How can anybody in his right mind support this kind of behavior? It is illegal, it is barbaric, it is unacceptable, it is wicked, it is evil. And it is something that the whole world is completely disgusted by. And I tell you this, Israel will pay a heavy price eventually for these atrocities they're committing against humanity. It's not an atrocity against the Palestinian people alone. It's an atrocity against humanity, against human dignity, against civilization. They will pay a heavy price for that. It's only a question of time. You can kill as many people as you like, but at the end of the day, you can't kill God. God is alive. God fights. God stands. And God will bring justice to the world and to the people of Palestine.
سيد فيمي، منذ بداية هذه الحلقة ونحن نتحدث عن الجرائم الإسرائيلية التي لا تنتهي بحق الشعب الفلسطيني، وإذا ما أتينا إلى المحور الأخير في هذه الحلقة وهي مدينة القدس المحتلة، آخر عاصمة في العالم تقع تحت الاحتلال. القدس المحتلة تتعرض لحصار وتمنع المواطنين الفلسطينيين من الدخول إلى المسجد الأقصى المبارك، وتمنع المسيحيين من التوجه إلى كنيسة القيامة من أجل أداء صلواتهم الدينية. ليس فقط كذلك، إنما تعتدي على المصلين المسلمين والمسيحيين. وربما أنت شاهدت الفيديو الذي انتشر عندما حاول أحد عصابات المستوطنين البصق على أحد رجال الدين المسيحيين أثناء توجهه للصلاة في كنيسة القيامة. سيد فيمي، ماذا يمكنك الحديث في هذا الإطار وما تتعرض له مدينة القدس؟ وعندما أيضا إذا أردنا الحديث تسمح لعصابات المستوطنين باستباحة المسجد الأقصى المبارك وكنيسة القيامة.
Jerusalem is the heart, in terms of capitals throughout the world and throughout history, is the heart of not just the Jewish faith, but also the Christian faith and also the Islamic faith. It's the heart. You have Al-Aqsa Mosque there. You've had churches there, some of the earliest churches. You have all kinds of religious sites there. All three of the great monotheistic faiths are represented in Jerusalem, and they consider it to be the heart of their faith. It is unacceptable to treat Muslims as if they are filth in Jerusalem. It is unacceptable to say that you want to build your second or third Jewish temple over the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is precisely what they really have in mind. They want to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It is unacceptable to burn churches, close churches, spit on Christians, and urinate all over Christians. A lot of people don't know this is what they do in Jerusalem. It is unacceptable to give the impression that Jerusalem belongs to the Jews and to the Jews alone. The world has changed now. Yes, as a believer, as a Christian, I believe strongly in the role of Jerusalem, as any other Christian would. But the Jerusalem I believe in is a Jerusalem for all, where Christians, Muslims, and even Jews can preach and that can exercise their religious beliefs in peace without any harassment from any pagan government, because the government of Israel, in my view, is not even a Jewish government. It's a pagan government. It's a Zionist government. And you know, Theodore Herzl was a pagan. He was a Zionist. He was not a Jew. He was a Kabbalist. Okay? This is what they're doing there. It's nothing to do with religious faith. So what they're doing to you, what they're doing to my people, that is the Christian people and the Muslim people of the world in Jerusalem and throughout that whole region, is unacceptable. And Israel has to understand something. If it is that you believe that it is only the Zionists that have the right to worship anywhere and have the right to exist, if you really believe that, you are knocking on the door of World War III. If you push the thing too far, not just the entire Muslim world, but the whole of the Christian world, except for a few deluded and misguided, maybe 15, 20% of American Christians who know no better. The Muslim world, the Christian world, they will rise up against the state of Israel, and we will end up having a third world war over Israel. I pray to God this doesn't happen, because war is evil, and I do not believe in violence. However, they are pushing and knocking on that door. May that door never open. May they not go too far. May they respect the rights of the Palestinian people and the rights of Muslims and Christians, and even respect themselves when it comes to the affairs of Jerusalem and the affairs of the Middle East.
يعني ربما سيد فيمي بعد هذه التصريحات التي أدليت بها في هذه الحلقة ربما تتهمك إسرائيل باللاسامية وتبدأ بالتحريض عليك، وهذه سياسة دولة الاحتلال. أي شخص ينتقد سلوك دولة الاحتلال يتهم باللاسامية ويتم إلصاق بهذه التهمة.
Listen to me very carefully. The Bible says it is appointed to man to die but once, and then comes judgment. Everybody has his days. I cannot be intimidated by anybody. No man born of woman can intimidate me. My people cannot be intimidated, and I cannot be intimidated. Speaking truth to power is something that we were born to do, and we will continue to do it. Speaking up for those that have been oppressed is a joy and a privilege and an honor. I am not inciting anybody. I'm simply telling the truth. And if the truth hurts so badly, I say, do your worst. I have no fear of death, no fear of anything. I am a believer. If you kill me or you kill mine, it says we die in Christ. We know where we're going. We just change address. If you kill a good Muslim, he knows where he's going. We know where we're going. If you kill a good Christian, we know where we're going. Why fear death? The fight is here on earth, the fight for justice, the fight for the oppressed. And many have gone before us. I can list them for various causes, when it came to fighting all these things. 50 million people died fighting Nazism. Millions more died fighting communism. Millions died fighting slavery. Millions died fighting imperialism. Millions died fighting colonialism. Why would it not be a privilege to die fighting against Zionism? And yet we will not die because the Lord has died for us and paid the price. We shall have victory. We shall live long. We shall prosper. And Israel cannot kill the whole world. They can only inflict injustice for some time. Eventually, they will be overwhelmed. Eventually, they will be defeated. Eventually, we'll have victory. We have no fear.
نأمل أن يحذو حذوك كافة القادة والمسؤولين في العالم وأن يقفوا لجانب الحق والحقيقة ولا يخشون هذه التهديدات الإسرائيلية والأمريكية. سيد فيمي، في نهاية هذا اللقاء اعتدت أن أعرض على ضيفي الكريم صورة لمدينة القدس، هذه العاصمة المحتلة، وأريد منك أن تضع يعني توقيعك أسفل صورة مدينة القدس.
Thank you very much. Oh, Jerusalem, as beautiful as ever, your heart belongs to God. The spirit of Jerusalem shall never be oppressed, shall never be overcome. The people of Jerusalem shall find joy at the end of the day. The people of Jerusalem shall prevail. Christians, Muslims, and even the Jews of Jerusalem shall live in peace and joy together. Jerusalem shall be the center of the world once again. The great Jerusalem that we dream about, we talk about. We have been taught so much. The center of culture, the center of civilization, the city of David, the great Jerusalem. It shall be great again, and everyone there shall live in peace and enjoy. It's just a question of time. Liberation will come. The world is with you. The people of the world are with you, and we shall stand by you, and we're praying for you. May God be with Jerusalem, and may God be with the people of Palestine.
يعني سيد فيمي، نأمل أن نراك في مدينة القدس قريبا وجها إلى وجه، وتزور هذه المدينة المقدسة وتؤدي صلواتك براحة وحرية واطمئنان بعيدا عن دولة الاحتلال. يعني في نهاية هذا اللقاء سيد فيمي، شكرا لحضورك معنا عبر شاشة تلفزيون فلسطين.
Thank you very much. شكرا. Thank you.
في نهاية هذا اللقاء لا يسعنا أن نشكر السيد فيمي فان، الوزير النيجيري السابق، وزير الطيران السابق، وزير الحكم المحلي السابق، على كافة المواقف المتقدمة اتجاه القضية الفلسطينية ودعم الشعب الفلسطيني والوقوف إلى جانب الحق الفلسطيني في إقامة الدولة الفلسطينية المستقلة وعاصمتها القدس الشرقية. تحية طيبة وإلى اللقاء. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.